Welcome to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and today we're working on Facebook Live. If you comment, then you will be entered into a drawing of winning a prize. We're going to pick somebody to just receive something awesome. Last week we had two winners, Peggy Christensen and Sandy Paulson. You got your prizes in the mail. They're on their way. I hope you enjoy them. All right, today I want to remind you also, click like, share, and subscribe. We're going to be putting all these videos on YouTube. So go over to Lydia Taggart on YouTube and subscribe there so we can keep you informed and make sure you don't miss anything. All right, today on Layers of Communication, we're going to talk about loving ourselves. Now, along life, I want to draw you a picture if I can draw a picture. This will be fun. I'll draw a picture. So we're on the path of life, right? And we're walking along the path. And there's some bumps in the road. Can you guys even see that? I need a bigger marker. A pen at least. Okay, let's try this again. Here's the life, right? And there's little places here and there where you got to go over some rough stuff down there. And there's a bridge. Now, sometimes we find ourselves down in the pit, and we don't know how we got there, and we don't know how to get out, but we keep trying to see back here and wondering, why am I in this pit? Why did this happen to me? Oh no, I'm down here. Why? Who pushed me? Did I trip? What happened? And we just stay here looking back to try and figure out what got us there. And I'm going to say that's not really very helpful in getting out. What we need to do is look forward, and maybe there's a ladder or a twig, or maybe there's somebody up here who can throw us a rope. There's all sorts of options of getting out of the pit, but we have to stop looking back and look forward. When we're down here, you can't really see what's up there when you're down here. You don't get a good view of how you ended up being in the pit. Once you're out over here, this is exciting. Look at my talent writing backwards. Over here, you can look back and you can see everything so clear. You go, oh, there's that twig right there. I'll watch for more twigs and not trip on that next time. But down here, it doesn't benefit us very much at all to look back and try and figure out how we got in the pit. What we need is to get out. We need to get out. We just need to get out of it. All right? So that's what I want to encourage you. A lot of times we go, oh no, I tripped on something. Oh no, I wasn't good enough at walking on that bridge. And we blame ourselves, and we have this really, really hard time just loving ourselves through all the pits of life because they're everywhere. There's lots of them. And once you get out of another one, you might fall into the next one. You got to be careful about what we think about ourselves. So we all have some scars. When we fall into the pit, we might get a scrape on our leg, we get hurt, we get a little scarred up. And I'll share with you a little story about my scars. It's almost swimsuit season, right? And that swimsuit season is not really exciting for a lot of us. And most parents, most moms anyway, think, well, I'll just take the kids to the pool and let them swim, and we sit on the side and watch them. Now, I had quadruplets. You can just imagine what that did to my body. I have a few scars. And one day, we were sitting it was a computer class, and all the kids were learning how to use the computer, and we're actually part of the study. And so we're sitting in the waiting room with these other moms, and this fairly large woman starts talking about how she's going to take her daughter to the pool. And somebody must have asked her about it, because she says, well, of course I'm going to wear a swimsuit. Of course I am. I don't want my daughter to have this self-image problem. I'm getting over it, and I'm helping her embrace who she is. She might have a problem when she grows up, but right now she needs to love who she is and not be worried about her body. If I'm worried about my body and I'm not willing to wear a swimsuit, what is that teaching my daughter? And so I sat there and went, right. I'm going to go do that too. So the next week, we took our kids swimming, and I braved it, and I was like, I'm going to put this swimsuit on. And mind you, my favorite compliment is still when my husband said he was teaching all the young men how you got to love your girlfriends and look for a wife more than just her body, because you never know what's going to happen. Look at my wife, he says. I was like, okay, my body has been through a few things, but I braved it. I put it on. I said, breaking through this. I'm breaking through this, not loving my body, not loving who I really am, not going to have any more regrets and looking back and resenting what pushed me into this pit. And I found that I had started resenting my kids because of what had happened to my body. And so we went swimming. And when we were in the changing room, my daughter looked at me and she was like, looking at me, right? And she says, oh, Mommy, I'm so sorry I did that to your body. Breaks my heart, right? And, oh, have you guys ever had anything like that where you just are trying so hard to get beyond something and love who you are, and then something just breaks your heart anyway? So on Sunday, yesterday, there's a story shared at church, and if you believe in Christ or not, this is a great story anyway. He went, after he was resurrected, he went to his disciples and his apostles, and he said, look at the prints in my hands. He was showing off his scars. It identifies who he is, and it's a proof and evidence of his sacrifice for the people he loves. And my body, going through that with quadruplets and having those scars, is evidence that I am willing to sacrifice for my children because I love them. If we can take the things that we consider disabling to us and turn it around, find something positive about it, what kind of evidence does it show? What is it teaching us or providing as who we are? What can we share with other people because we have those scars? Can we show it off and say, hey, look what I've been through, and I survived this experience, right? And, we're going to be talking more about self-love today. So I got to take that moment with my daughter and say, well, I love you and you're worth it. And that was a great moment with her. And it was several years ago. I think she was maybe 5 years old, maybe 4, I think 5. But we have these moments that we can turn around and make awesome. Now, today, we're going to be visiting with JoAnne Palladino on improving our self-love. How do we get to completely loving ourselves and accepting who we are? And maybe even more than just accepting, but embracing and loving it. Thanks for the hearts and the comments. We see a few of you here jumping on. Remember, when you comment, you're entered into that prize drawing. All right, JoAnne, are you on here? Let's see if we can add you. The buttons. And we're not with BBM Global Network anymore. Did I tell you guys that? We are going to be branching out on our own, doing videos. I think there's more value for you in videos and on YouTube. It's more easily accessible. So we're going to be going that route. JoAnne, are you on the Facebook? Let's see. Are you there, JoAnne? Maybe she's here, maybe she's not. We're going to try and learn this. Maybe I'll call her again because it doesn't seem to be working. We'll try again. So do you guys have any questions or anything? Yeah, Michelle, there's a prize. I'm glad you're here. We've got Michelle, Larissa, Peggy. So far, Michelle's made the most comments. We're going to try and call JoAnne back. Yeah, it's going to be a surprise. It might be. Hi, there you are. Are you not able to get on the Facebook?
Well, how do I join? I guess that's my...
Are you able to see it?
I can see you, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Lacey. It doesn't tell me that you're watching.
All right, so how do I connect to you live? What button do I need to push?
Did you open it up in its own browser window thing? It might be the phone computer thing. It might be just a phone thing.
All right, well, I see you, I hear you on my phone. But what do I click to see you live? For me to get in live? Did you open it up and it comes?
Oh, I hear myself.
Should I hang up the phone?
Okay, Peggy says she's not sure what the icon is that she's here. Okay, Peggy is here. Let's see, JoAnne, how about we just talk and we'll try and figure out a video thing. Maybe we'll have you on again and try the video again another time. Because I think that it has to go through the phone and not through the computer. And then we can hear me in the background on the computer, so a little bit of a loop. All right, I'm going to tell you guys about JoAnne. JoAnne Palladino has been extending her divinely guided gifts to many throughout the United States and internationally since 2002. She's a Reiki master teacher, intuitive, and a seasoned health facilitator.
And it's sort of delayed, too.
Oh, is it delayed? Okay.
Yes, that's delayed.
Let's just do the conversation over the phone
So
then.
I'm going to...
Do you want to try and connect on the YouTube through your phone? Or, sorry, Facebook Live through your phone? Okay. JoAnne is a seasoned health facilitator who channels the divine frequency of light language that she has named Shemaya. Did I say that right? Shemaya. When we get the loop fixed, then we'll figure it out. Oh, Peggy says it is delayed on her iPad, but not delayed on her cell phone. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Before 2002, JoAnne was a high-profile administrator for a national healthcare company. JoAnne's intention is to guide others to live from their hearts, embody their light. Shemaya. Okay, thank you. And create the shift to unity consciousness. Her practice is located in Denver, Colorado, where she sees clients individually and holds groups, retreats, and Reiki trainings throughout the year. Distant healing is also available to anyone in the world who is drawn to work with JoAnne and embrace complete and unconditional love and self-acceptance. All right, JoAnne, are you there?
I am here, so I'm listening to this guy's phone because when I'm seeing you live on Facebook, it's delayed.
Yes.
And it's a little confusing. So bummer, but this is what's happening today.
We'll figure it out maybe next time.
I don't know how to, unfortunately, because I see you, hear you, and I'm not able to click on how to join you.
Okay, well, we'll just carry on. Thanks for joining us, Sherelle. And Larissa says she loves Reiki. So you got a fan there.
Me too. Beautiful.
All right, so we're going to visit a little bit, and then we'll look through the comments like as if we were having a commercial break. We're talking about self-love, self-acceptance with JoAnne Palladino. And JoAnne, do you relate to that story I told you or shared about the swimsuit and being stuck in the pit? Does that relate to your experiences as well?
Well, first I appreciate you, sharing a personal story. And I feel most of my life, but it has changed through the years since I've stop, criticizing myself or looking for love outside of myself, that I think myself and probably most humans have stories that they could look back on, and unfortunately some are still living in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Of I'm going to say, like there's shame within us, and because of that shame, we tend to live on a path of self-criticism and feel we're not good enough or less than. So it's God or the universe is like poking us and saying it's time to get out of that hole, sort of that
Yes.
visual that you did early on, because we're the ones that put ourselves there. It's not, we listen to others who sort of dig the hole, and then we go, oh, okay, I'm going to jump in and believe this self-talk that is so unhealthy and so depleting. And today it's really looking at, the beauty of surrendering to oneself. Because your bathing suit story was like what I felt, the soul becomes free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, there's a beautiful freedom there. So wouldn't that be, full of grace to live in that space within ourselves?
Yeah.
Freedom.
And it's not just freeing for ourselves, but it freed my daughter. It frees the people around us. And I've worn a swimsuit out in public so many times since. That was years ago. But I think all those people sitting on the sidelines, they're watching. And we can influence and help others through our confidence in ourselves. And we don't have to be a big world-moving kind of person. We can move our own, everybody that is around us, just by taking better care of ourselves and loving who we are more.
Well, it's something that we should consider, that we have an incredible significant being here.
Yes.
And not saying big or little, because in a way that's dualistic, but we are all, from the same creator, and not find or look for this or seek it outside of ourselves. So whether you sweep the streets or you're a rocket scientist, we still have the same level of significance. There is no difference.
Yes.
And if we feel the rocket scientist is better than us, that is not nurturing self-love within you.
Right.
So it's really allowing ourselves to step back away from the dualistic world that we live in and begin to connect with a deeper aspect of ourselves.
Yes. And to really get to the core of it, of who we really are. I think our emotions lay over our experiences. We get into the pit, and then we cover all of that experience with an emotion that's hard to break through or understand who we still are. And we can manage those emotions, that shame and any other kind of feelings that we might have about whatever that experience was. For my example, being in a swimsuit and having that experience with my body growing the quadruplets. And just what is my emotion that I choose? What do I choose to go with from here? And accepting at the core, like you said, that we are completely the same as everybody else. We don't have to judge. We each have our own set of talents and gifts and our own experiences that we can bless everyone else. I love this one story about there's a stone cutter, and he's just tapping away at the stone in the mountain. And when you ask him what he's doing, he's not just hitting a stone. He's building a beautiful cathedral down in the city. He's contributing to something bigger than that, even if our part is tiny. If we view our part as tiny, because really, we all have so much more inside us, like you said. And I want to ask you more about the word surrendering. In the language that we have, surrender sometimes is viewed negatively, but it's also viewed positively in this experience of we want to surrender to who we are and stop fighting with ourselves. And that's completely different than surrendering a war. But it's kind of the same thing. We're at war with ourselves, trying to be at peace with who we are. What do you think of that, JoAnne?
Well, I love the word surrender, for one thing. And again, it is our old way of thinking, or the old paradigm of surrendering means giving up, or, flying, waving the white flag, if you will.
Because it's not really giving up.
Yeah, so surrender, I just want to touch on a definition of surrender, and this is from the book, The Way of Mastery, and it's a channeled book, and it's the words of Jesus. It's not connected to any religion, but it is more his teachings that can touch all of us. So surrender, it means through every fiber of your being that there is no one here living a life. There is a life flowing through the body, mind, personality, as long as it lasts. And that nothing gets in your way and nothing no longer disturbs you to be in that state of peace. And that is surrendering to God, divine, universe, whatever you want to call the mystery.
It's a mystery. I love that.
Surrender opens you up to allow you to move forward. It doesn't mean I'm giving up on life, but it actually allows you to trust in divinity to support the flow of life to be with more, ease and grace, if you will.
That's beautiful. It's all about trust, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel surrender is, when people hear that word, they cringe in a way. It's like, no, I want to fight. I want to do this. So the surrender also allows a fluidity in your life, that you're no longer pushing up against struggle, because that's a resistance, or that's a contraction. And when you resist or push up against, it doesn't go away. It usually gets stronger. So this piece of surrender allows the heart to open. It allows this beautiful trusting, and it puts you in a place that allows a peaceful within for you to see and hear clearer on how you'd like to move through life, or helps you with choices, And this is more of a listening from spirit or soul versus the ego, the egoic mind, or the personality, because the personality ego is really based on fear and survival.
Yes.
It can't do this. So when you no longer have the ego run your life, which is based on fear, and surrender to divinity, then that's when you listen from the heart, and the heart begins to be informing the mind. So it's a different way of approaching day-to-day activity, day-to-day life, and even choosing differently from the old pattern of fear and egoic holding on to more of the grace of divinity within oneself.
Yes, yes. And it's making me think of my conversation that I had with my teenager yesterday. You know, teenagers, I think there's a lot of the mind and the ego and that fear that runs the teenager's life, generally speaking. They're trying to branch out on their own. They don't know what they're doing. They're trying to figure out who they are or remember who they are. And I think they work primarily through that fear and branching out on their own. And we have a binder system that I share with my clients in our mentoring and everything, but my kids use these binders, or they're supposed to. And it's just like a daily check that I'm going to choose what kind of emotion and what are my goals and did I do my goals, and just kind of a tracking system, really. And it's got a very basic schedule in there for my kids that after you get home, you have a snack and you do your homework and you go outside, and it was kind of just set out as a basic preliminary thing. Well, my one teenager, he almost was diagnosed with oppositional defiance disorder until they tested his IQ, and the podcast was paused. Okay, here we are. We're back. So he said over and over he doesn't want to do the binder. He wants to do it his own way. And I said, great, do it your own way. Here's the guideline. Here's something to work from. But he keeps not doing it. And until I was able last night to tell him, I don't know, for the 5800th time, this is your plan. You do whatever you want. I'm here to support you. Be your own person. And all of a sudden, for some reason, he was like, oh, thanks for clarifying that. But I have to tell him in a different way to get past that fear. And yet he doesn't want to write it down or track it or anything, even if it's his own way, because it might not be right, or it might prove his mistakes or his lacking. I think that's one of the reasons we don't track our progress, is that fear base, like you're talking about. If we're flowing and allowing to come from our heart, then it's a lot easier to forgive ourselves for those lack of movement or the mistakes that we've made. And moving from the heart, then we can accept our progress, whichever kind of progress it is. And I like to remember progress is progress, no matter how small. And that's helped me through a lot in my life. Just, even if it's a little bit, progress is progress, no matter how small. And light is light, no matter how dim. I think we forget these things, that it's not really bright sunshine, but it's still a flashlight. There's still light there. And what kind of tips do you have, JoAnne, of maybe moving into that flow a little more?
Yeah, I want to just, touch on something about, failure. We were talking about failure. We're afraid to move forward. And yesterday on Facebook, and I actually shared this on my page, Yoda from Star Wars.
Yes.
Yoda, I said, he's a wisdom teacher. But he said the greatest teacher is failure.
Yeah.
It's a great teacher.
It is.
And I, shared that it's truly a 360 way of how we view failure, and embrace it more as a best friend for potential brilliance, versus shameful stupidity. Because, when we fail, we have this label of, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. So to answer your question, how do we move forward into the beauty of complete and unconditional self-acceptance? One thing is to be aware that this is not outside of you, but it is within you. We tend to look for our love, our acceptance, our that boy from sources outside of us,
Yes.
whether it is from parents, teachers, friends, just society in general. So to just digest that truth, it is a truth that love is not outside of us, but within us, is actually a huge stepping stone. So it's from reaching out and being identified with, oh, if I do this, they're going to love me. It's really bringing that energy within yourself to say, how can I approach this that it nourishes me and I no longer feed myself any kind of self-criticism. And like a piece of the puzzle, if you will, is the commitment to yourself to actually, I've been using the word for a while now, which I absolutely love. It's a level of devotion.
Yes.
It's a level of self-devotion. Again, we're devoted to others,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not getting us what we want. Well, how about turning that around and being devoted to the one that you see in the mirror each morning?
Yes. And then that can branch
and-
out to the other commitments that you have. If you have a commitment to an employer, well, why are you really committed to that employer? It's because you want to take care of your own commitments to yourself and have that income and whatnot provide more for your personal needs in your own. I see that that's very true. Committing to ourselves more. Why would a kid go to school? Because it's a personal learning, and all of these, every example I can think of comes back to being committed to ourselves. But we forget that. We forget that we're not really committed to the teacher trying to give us an A. We're committed to ourselves, learning enough to earn and deserve that A personally. And, there's been a lot of times where our kids don't really get along with their teachers. And I say, I know how smart you are. You know how smart you are. Maybe that grade doesn't matter as much as the piece of paper that it's on, as long as you know what you're capable of. And did you try your hardest for you? And I love how you say, how can I approach this that it will nourish me? And we need to nourish ourselves and get off of this blaming and whatever else, the shame and the self-criticism. If we could just try to nourish and heal ourselves a little bit more and recognize and remember that it is within us. It's inside us.
Yeah, and a piece here that is good to be aware of. Again, it is not the intellect, but it is a felt quality. It's really this, it's a quality that we really can't even describe. We can't put words on it. It's, what does it feel? Oh, it feels peaceful. It feels still. It feels vast. It feels like freedom. Those are words to try and describe the true felt quality of this complete and unconditional love that we're speaking about.
And I think also the doubt goes away when we have this complete self-love. We don't doubt our abilities or our purpose in life. If we can get to that place where we feel that felt quality, like you say, then it just makes it flow so much easier. And the flowing of life, even when there's a bump in the road or something, is like the river just flows over the rocks.
Yes, over, below, on the side, in the cracks. It's like there's no resistance. That's the surrender.
Yeah, and it carves out the canyons. Yes.
So so if we look at, some of the things that block self-love. It's not the trusting of oneself, and again, looking for that approval from the outside, and the fear of being judged by others, or that self-criticism. And when we get in that hole, sort of going back to how you opened the show today, when we get into that hole of judging others, being concerned others will judge us, self-criticism, it actually feeds a density within us, and it permeates us like on the cellular level. Like the body, everything is vibration. So if you think self-critical thoughts, if you speak them to yourself, if you act on them, it all has vibration, it all has a frequency, and our form, our body, feels it, hears it, and remembers it. And that is why people have dis-ease, are anxious, are depressed, are really sad in life. So these acts of judging and self-criticism keeps us separate, not only from others, but it keeps us separate from ourselves.
Yes.
And that separation, is a distance from who you truly are, which is the love in form. So where vibration judgment has a vibration, it's very contracting. The body's the conduit, it holds on to it, and it just slows you down. it makes you tired. It doesn't motivate you. So the love vibration is just the opposite of self-criticism or judgment. It's like pure source energy. It is source energy, which the body is also a conduit for. So allowing, love to be the base or your foundation, self-love is a pathway to really be with life so differently, and it is the doorway for the trust and surrender to be fully a sacred being.
That's beautiful. We're going to take a break and see all of the Facebook Live comments here.
If anyone wants to ask a question, or I'd be happy to direct it.
Yeah. All right. Sherelle says she had to leave, but she's hoping it will be up, and she's excited that it will still be up after we're done. And also remember, you can find me at lydiataggart.com and subscribe on YouTube, Lydia Taggart YouTube. Click like, share, and subscribe, and follow. Michelle Lewis says she has married her body again because she realized, because of the shame, that she had divorced it. Well, I wonder how many of us have done that. I think I kind of had done that before too. I had gone to a seminar once where they said, draw a picture of yourself and how you view yourself. They didn't tell us ahead of time, but after they said, okay, now you've got this picture, and did you leave your feet off? Then you don't have a foundation, and all these different things, that how you draw your body relates to how you feel about yourself. And I had only drawn my head, and I was like, well, I don't want anything to do with my body. Let's just only draw my head, And I was like, it was very probably similar that I had divorced it because of that shame. And that's interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Michelle. And then Larissa says, recognize who you are and accept and love that. Be the best you can while still loving where you are currently. Yes, that's very well said. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I hope that I'm getting all of your comments on here. I hope that it's connecting to everybody well. I want to share or have JoAnne actually share, where can people find you before we get to the end of the show? We've got about 15 minutes left. Where can people find you and connect with you?
So my website is probably the easiest, and it's www.JoAnne, and it's JoAnne, and the last name is Palladino, P as in Peter, ALLA, D as in David, INO.com. So JoAnnePalladino.com, and there they could ask questions. I have, activations to awaken, which are free for people to download. It's their meditations, and also vibrational activations on various topics. There's this beautiful package that I have that people might be really drawn to, and it's called Clear Your Path to Self-Love, and it's a video series that talks about, energy, our aura, our mental chatter, our emotional suppression, and our physical blockages, and the spiritual disconnection, which keeps us from Clear Your Path to Self-Love. So, again, my website, JoAnnePalladino.com, and I'm also on Facebook under JoAnne Palladino, and also YouTube. So there's various ways to reach out. You could private message me. There might be a specific question or a challenge or an intention that you're working through and just need clarification to help move to the next stepping stone of, realizing the topic that we're talking about, complete and unconditional love and self-acceptance.
Yes, fantastic. And I've looked at her website, everybody. I've looked at her website. She really does have a lot of great information there. All right, so let's get back to a question. How does this flow interact with your relationships and communicating with other people?
Well, this flow, if you will, has become a way of life for me. So what I use is being present as much as I am able to throughout the day, so living in the moment, if you will, which helps me be more grounded in my body, to have more clarity in the mind, to not be distracted by triggers, whether you're watching the news or somebody in line in front of you at the grocery store, and it keeps me more of an observer in life than getting distracted in life and getting thrown off into sort of the stories that do not support us. So I do my best to walk and live the talk, not only in my personal relationship, but also with clients that I work with. So wherever people are at in their journey, there is no judgment. There is no, oh my goodness, you're only that far. It's really being present with what is, sort of surrendering to it, and holding people's space in that moment, and not feel they should be any different. It's not me getting to change them. It's really me providing guidance that strikes a chord, lights up their light, and allows them to make the shift within them, because it's really up to us on how we change and live our life. So I feel like my my life isn't separate, like, oh, I have my personal life this way and my, my gifts, my, I don't call it business, but when I extend my gifts, it's really the same. There really isn't a separation, so I do my best to be present and non-judgmental and not be triggered by what may not resonate with me, but rather stay in my light and my truth.
Nice. And without that judgment, I'm just thinking how incredible the world would be if we could all just release judgment and not hold any judgment.
Well, it's huge. It's actually huge.
Yeah.
Because imagine if we truly lived in complete and unconditional love and self-acceptance, that there would not be any judgment, there wouldn't be any duality, there wouldn't be you're better than I am or I'm better than you are. There would be sacred unity. So the world would be a different place. Humanity would live in harmony versus discord. So it is a huge piece. I mean, if we speak of Jeshua, Jesus' teaching with the nailing on the cross, whether you believe that happened or not, it's not the point, but it's more of the teaching from it, where they know not what they do. There's a level of consciousness or awareness that is shifting, and we see it in our world today.
Yes. And they just don't know. They just don't understand what they're doing. I mean, people who cut us off in traffic, they're just in a hurry, and they don't know that they're that close to our bumper. They just don't realize what they're doing, right? And
that's true.
I think every time somebody speeds past me and cuts me off, I think, wow, I hope they're not going to get to the hospital safe. They must be running somewhere really important. We just have a few more minutes. I want to ask you about forgiveness, because a lot of this blame and the judging, I think that ties a lot into forgiveness and how we're able to forgive others. I think sometimes we forgive others a lot easier than we forgive ourselves. And do you have any advice on how to forgive ourselves and allow us? Because I think as a mother especially, I'm willing to forgive my kids so much easier. They're still learning, but we forget that I am still learning too, and forgive ourselves. Do you have tips on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, forgiving ourselves first, that's really the teaching here. And it is hard for people to wrap their head around. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I could simplify this. So when you judge others or you hold a grudge, and if we look at this energetically, that is feeding a lot of negativity within yourself. Mm-hmm. Because there's a level of, I'll use the word hatred, because that's the word that's coming. I hate that person because they did this, and I'm blaming them because I wouldn't be in this position and all of that. So by being in that energy and that thought, you're feeding yourself a lot of dis-ease in your body. So where self-forgiveness comes in is that you forgive yourself from causing yourself this discord.
Yes.
So it's more of a self-loving practice than putting it out, judging and criticizing others, which is really, self-destructive. So that's where, forgiveness practice comes in for oneself. That you forgive yourself what you're causing yourself, all this discord, if you will. Then the forgiving, because once you're with that and you're at home with that, that's very self-loving. That's really a beautiful self-loving practice. But when you extend forgiveness to others, it's not about whatever was done to you was okay, but it's acknowledging that it was done and having a deeper understanding of the person and the state that they were in to provide that caused you any kind of suffering or pain. And you begin to look beyond their humanness, and you embrace them as a soul that also needs love and care and attention and non-judgment, just like we do. We're all in the same boat here.
Yes. And
So
there's
I trust
no
that.
limit to age or experience, wealth or poverty. This goes for every human being on the planet, that we are all in the same boat. We all need to have this forgiveness piece and allow ourselves to get back into the flow and to forgive.
Yeah. It is actually a foundational piece for a personal healing and self-acceptance and self-love. And it's also foundational because once you begin that, it begins to permeate the collective consciousness or the collective awareness that is happening on the planet right now. So when you heal yourself, you actually do heal others, because what you're feeding yourself is high vibrational love. It flows through you and it extends out from you. And that's the vibration, the frequency, the consciousness that you're putting out into the collective. So the more we all get on board, get on the train, if you will, in this energy, the more we'll be allowing the tipping point to happen on the planet of sacred unity, sacred love, no longer duality.
I love that. And some people might wonder or disagree about that. I just want to share, everyone can tell a difference when somebody walks into the room and they're not happy. Everyone feels that. You can tell, even without looking at them, you can feel it. And if somebody walks into the room and they're happy and excited, you feel that difference too. So that's kind of what we're talking about with this energy, that we share this energy, and it's maybe in terminology that some people haven't heard before, but it's a real thing. Sure. And we can feel it, and we do affect the people around us just by our thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a good example of, somebody walks into the room and, they're really angry, and you were already in the room, and you go, wow, what was that?
Yeah.
What just walked in? It feels so weird all of a sudden,
Yeah.
And that is energy, that is frequency, that is vibration, that is, being an empath, feeling others' emotions. It's all part of, our makeup, as being in a human body.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left. I want to go through the last of our Facebook comments here real quick and remind you to share, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Lydia Taggart, and also JoAnne Palladino. She's got a YouTube channel as well. Peggy says her son pushes her to exercise. It's not because he cares about how she looks, but that he wants her to be healthy and able to play hard with the grandkids. I think sometimes we misinterpret people's pushing us, like nagging or whatnot, as they want us to be different. They want us to be better. But really, I think it comes from a place of love. He loves his mother. He wants her to be able to play with the grandkids and love them. And so I think that's something to take note of as well, that any kind of criticism or possible judgment, we can just see that as coming from a place of love, that they care about us and want us to be better because they love us. Michelle says she loves the idea of living in unconditional light. And do you believe that unconditional love is truly possible, like completely unconditional all the time? I think yes. What do you think, JoAnne?
Unconditional love all the time? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is about sort of the foundational piece for our humanness is to be in complete and unconditional love and self-acceptance and live from that space. And that can be, the devotion for yourself to constantly, not in a hard way, like, oh, I'm going to really do this, but more in a surrender way, that you're always coming back to yourself, listening from the heart of, does this nourish me, or does it deplete me? Or even just responding to people. It helps you. It's like, how do I want to respond to this person? Or what words do I choose? It's really being very aware and conscious of how you are in this minute, which is going to affect the next and the next and the next. It's sort of that flow. So to be devoted to complete and unconditional love and self-acceptance, I think is so, beautiful for you as a person and soul.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things we need to remember is it's a process. We will grow to that place of unconditional love. And there again, not to, because we can get ourselves in this cycle of, oh, I'm not loving unconditionally. I had a bad thought about whoever, whatever. And just continue to endure and continue to try to not give up, that we can progress and get there. It's totally possible, and it's just a beautiful thing. Well, JoAnne, it is 11 o'clock, so it's been our hour. Thank you so much for being with us and talking with us about all these wonderful things with self-love. I love the imagery of being in flow and having that river scenario that you can just flow over the rocks and the cracks, and there's nothing that really can resist. I mean, we've got the Grand Canyon because of rivers flow. We can make beautiful things around us, no matter how big or small we are. And I just love everything that you've shared with us. Thank you so much, JoAnne.
Well, I'm an honor and really full of gratitude for you, Lydia, allowing this time, and for the listeners that are tuning in now and those that will tune in later. So namaste. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. And remember, everyone out there, you're worth it, and so are they. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next week. And check us out, LydiaTaggart.com and JoAnnePalladino.com. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.